Hi everyone, welcome back to the US CPA classes for business analysis and reporting examination. So now we are starting chapter 3, that is state and local governmental accounting. So in this particular video, I'll be walking you through in detail about the format and content of financial section of the annual comprehensive financial reporting. Then second topic we'll be covering is deriving government statement and the reconciliation requirement of the government financial statement. Third topic we'll be covering is typical item and specific type of transaction and event, measurement, valuation calculation and the presentation in the government entity financial statement. So let's dive into to understand more in detail about all these three topics. So now we are jumping on to the fourth chapter, which is last chapter for your BAR examination, and this is common for the FAR and BAR examination, and again 10 to 20% of your examination. So in this you can expect these following topics. So we'll discuss one by one in detail what this respective topic will be covering, and then we'll be starting with the 4.1 topic today. So in the state and local governmental account, this is slightly different, as you know, like we generally do not have much exposure in India as well as like in United States of America or abroad to work for the governmental, right? So hence sometimes students feel it's difficult. Actually, it's not difficult, but the only reason what I see is we are not exposed to such kind of accounting in our school days, college days, or any professional study which you have done. So here are like certain different rules, regulations, or you can say accounting principle on which like the entire governmental accounting is built done, which is you can say based on the gap, but there are certain additional things which is over and above the gap you need to consider for the gas purpose, which is for governmental accounting purpose. So we'll be discussing one by one in detail, but mentally we should be prepared like this is something different than what we have studied in our school days, college days, or in your master's or in your professional education. And even though like in US also most of the people who do CPA, they do not have exposure to working with state or local governmental specifically for their accounting purpose, right? Hence this topic is considered to be tricky, but actually it's not tricky, it's very simple. We need to understand the fundamental, we need to understand from the government perspective why they are requesting, why they are asking such kind of, you can say, disclosure into their financial statement. So when we are studying the governmental accounting, let's assume you are maybe state government or a federal government or a city government or any organization which is being formed by the government, right? If you keep that in background of your mind, then probably things will be easy for you to digest. So first of all, like keep in your mind that you are running a government organization, you are running maybe an you can say PSU, which is public sector unit, or you might be running some state government, central government, federal government, or city government, including like municipality corporation, right? So if you keep that thing in mind, then probably the pieces which we'll be studying in next 2-3 classes for the state and local governmental accounting, it will be easy for you to digest. And in addition to this, like generally, if I say how the gas has been made, so for the governmental accounting, we'll be using gas, right? I know some of you have studied far, but in the last class, I think I've shared with each one of you like how those accounting standard has been built, right? Same way for governmental accounting. So the accounting standard which is being used is called gas, right? Which is governmental accounting standard, basically, right? And the gas is generally have more restriction, or you can say more explanatory requirement over and above which is being required by the government. So we'll be understanding in detail one by one what are those additional requirements. But just keep in mind at a very high level, there would be some additional over and above requirement of the gap. So the gap is the basic fundamental of accounting which we all need to apply, but there are additional rules and regulations which you need to apply for the governmental accounting purpose. Now coming to the 4.1. The first one is format and content of the financial section of annual comprehensive financial report. In short form, we call ACFR as well. Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. What do you call it? ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. So this Annual Comprehensive Financial Report is generally of the governmental financial statement. And in the governmental financial statement, you will see two things. One is government-wide financial statement, and second is government fund financial statement. Do you remember, like from your school day, you might have studied fund flow statement? Do you remember that? Right? What was the fund flow statement? Any idea?
Similar to cash flow statement, but exactly difference याद नहीं आ रहा sir.
The inflow and outflow of
Akash?
basically analyzes, I guess, the flow of working capital rather than just the cash.
Yeah, Gurmehar. Kashish, any idea what is fund flow statement? Any of you, by any chance, have any idea what is fund flow statement?
So just a wild idea, मतलब I don't know. याद नहीं आ रहा, but fund flow statement basically, चलो आप टाइप ही कर दो, इसमें दिख जाएगा.
So what are fund flow statement? A fund flow refers to the inflow and outflow of fund or assets for the company and is often measured on a monthly or quarterly basis. A fund flow statement reveals the reason of these changes or anomalies in the financial position of the companies between two balance sheets. Right? Or if you want to study more, the working capital formula, like you are saying, current assets, current liability, right? And fund flow statement of financial analysis. Fund flow analysis is a financial document which you can create to use and analyze the analyze and understand the financial position of your business, right? The same way here you will be doing the governmental fund financial statement. Governmental fund financial statement, like for example, like you might have heard during the COVID time, so PM has created a PM Care Fund, right? We discussed this, I think, in FAR class also.
Yes, sir.
But how many of you have contributed to that?
I did not find.
Any one of you have heard PM Care Fund during the COVID time?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So government has contributed certain funds for the healthcare benefit of the people who are impacted under COVID, right? So that was the whole objective, right? So that fund cannot be used for any other purpose, right? So what was the inflow of that fund and what was the outflow of that fund is called respective governmental fund flows, right? For that, they need to make a separate financial statement which include maybe your cash or you have purchased any assets, right? Or the fund you have received. Same way they prepared, like you can say receipt and payment account, in which like the fund which you have received from the government and what all payments you have made to the respective vendor for spending of that fund or expenditure from that fund, right? So from the government perspective, it is being very important to maintain and manage separate funds financial statement. In addition to that, they need to make a government-wide financial statement as well. So, do you mind? Do you have any idea what all funds generally the government department to have, and how they will be managing them? Like PM Care Fund, we have one example. Have you heard of this initiative of like I know like I can give certain example of the US also, but I think you can easily correlate with few example of India. Like have you heard of Make in India?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Have you heard of Invest India?
Yes.
Have you heard of Startup India?
Yes, sir.
Have you heard
Yes,
of adult incubation centers?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what are these? Basically, these are government initiatives. Right. Have you heard of United Nations Sustainable Goals?
No, sir.
There are 17 goals of UNs. Right. For that, UN also allocate certain fund for the each goal. So maybe like for example, if I show you UN 17. So this is yeah. So these are like the respective goals. The 17 goals. Yeah, if you see, these are the goals of United Nations. For each goal, like no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, right? All these things. So these are like 17 goals of the UN which they have. And they provide like fund for the each goal. But how do they manage and control? Like how much money has been spent, how much fund has been allocated, how much assets have been purchased, how much vendor have been registered, what are the commitments they have given, right? For that, for all the respective like project or you can say fund, they need to maintain a separate financial statement, right? That is called fund financial statement. Make sense?
Yes.
Yes,
So for this, let's say UN has certain charter, and under that charter, they will be contributing, let's say, $1 billion for no poverty, right? So they have like, have any of you heard like budget speech, government budget speech?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Have any of you heard like finance minister speech for the budget?
तो वही जिस दिन ब्रीफकेस लेके आ जाते हैं.
Yes. Now it's in red envelopes.
Yeah.
From last 5 years.
हाँ सर, बजट्स में सब कुछ फैक्ट्स मिलते हैं कि क्या क्या किस अलग अलग डिविजन्स के लिए क्या क्या बजट हमने पास किया है, क्या बजट हम लेके चल रहे हैं.
So what how the government do, like let's assume you are Congress, not Indian Congress, United States, right? So let's say you are like Joe Biden, right? And what do you think will be the role of Joe Biden, and what will be the role of the finance minister in United States of America?
Basically, Joe Biden, being the president of United States, he will be strategizing what are the sectors in which he needs for which he needs funds for. And finance minister, he might take consultation from. He would be taking consultation from finance minister to get those funds in line with the strategies which are being formulated by the Congress or Joe Biden.
So Janet Yellen, she's a finance minister in Biden administration, right? So she will be taking care of all the treasury part of the entire United States of America, right? So what all things she might be keeping in mind when she is making the budget for the entire nation. That kind of like holistic view we need to have to understand the overall governmental accounting. Like what all things, for example, you are a finance minister of the country, or maybe let's assume maybe for a state. So what all things you need to keep in mind?
Sir, how much funds do we need for the internal security, for education, for health, and all
Mm-hmm.
these factors need to be
Mm-hmm.
considered for setting the budgets and
Mm-hmm.
like for the nation as a whole, what should be the defense budget,
Mm-hmm.
all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Correct.
Yeah, give an attempt. Like I also do not have absolute answer, to be very honest with you. What I'm just trying, like each one of you, think in that direction, right? And if you participate, then only you can think. If you do not participate, like I can't do anything out of it, to be very honest with you.
Mhm.
Right?
That
I
that
may
should
be.
be managed. Like if what are the key areas in which we need more investments?
Mm-hmm.
What are the areas in which we need less investment compared to the what are the specific like
Mm-hmm.
for example, if taking the example of India,
Mm-hmm.
India is bordered by all the countries which are not very friendly with us. We are surrounded at all sides, so India needs to have a good defense budget,
Mm-hmm.
tackle all those things. And like we are not very progressive with our education policy, so we need to
Mm-hmm.
if we are thinking on those lines, that we need to invest more in the education sector. Like Government of India recently brought the new education policy, and
Mm-hmm.
huge amounts of funds have been allocated to you know
Mm-hmm.
uh, the
Mm-hmm.
education and the infrastructure and the rail projects. So it should be aligned with what the government is actually strategizing, and maybe what they have promised in their election campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
As per those needs, we need to have a vision of what we need to do over the next 5 years or 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Anything else? Arya, Aditi, Abhishek, Manish.
So from government point of view, like if government is just like for Modi's government, they might have promised some manifestos. Like in their manifestos, there might be some promises. So
Mm-hmm.
the financial ministry should also focus in that also, like how to achieve those goals. So they would allocate the funds accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus areas where India should always focus, like whatever things like Akash said, education and defense, etc. Along with that, they have to focus on to their manifesto also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, couple of things. I know, like most of you, like have shared like good insight. So, what all things like generally a government or a finance minister would be keeping in mind? What is like for each government they have certain mandates. Those mandates is the primary importance because of which they are into the government. To be very honest, right? In addition to that, like overall economic environment, they need to look at it, right? And total, you can say the collection of taxes they need to evaluate, and then they need to understand maybe the crisis situation. For example, like COVID was a crisis situation, right? Extremely crisis situation. Or like budget also, they being divide into certain parts. For example, the budget for the growth of the economic, they will be keeping budget for the you can say uh, for Medicare benefits. If you see, like, if you have heard any budget speech, like I know, like I personally have not heard, to be very honest, any budget speech of United States of America, but I have heard almost like more than 20 speeches of budget of the India, right? In which generally I've seen like finance minister, they keep on few things very mandatorily budget, which is like their budget for the defense, budget for the economic development, budget for the infrastructure development, budget for the healthcare, budget for the education, budget for the you can say in the you can say
Agriculture.
the agriculture part of it, right? So there are certain key domains for which they always keep the budget. So how this budget has been made? So budget has been made based on the expected or estimated collection from direct taxes, indirect taxes, and other sources of the revenue for the government, right? So whatever the amount they are expecting in next 12 months, corresponding to that amount, they allocate to the respective expenditure they estimate. The expenditure could be for the development of the country, for the infrastructure, for the healthcare, for the Medicare, for the education, for the farmer, for improving the lifestyle of the people, right, of their people, and defense budget, or maybe like technology budget, like ISRO, they all come under the governmental, right? Maybe setting up new IITs, new IIMs, new universities, right? Those kind of like budget allocation you might have heard every budget speech, right? So that is called the budgeting process. So that is done at overall level, and then that budget has been given to the silos, to the respective ministry, right? So ministry, maybe NHAI ministry. I'm sure Nitin Gadkari, you all are being very well aware about him, right? He leads NHAI. MSME ministry, which is being led by like Narayan Rane, who is our like cabinet minister, right? Same way MHI, DST, respective ministry they have. So those ministry get the funds from the overall central government. And then after, those ministries are being responsible to utilize those funds, right? So that utilization of fund, if they are doing, so they need to be do the accounting of the same, isn't it? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
For
Yes.
example, let's say the overall India budget is, let's say, $10 trillion, right? So out of that $10 trillion, let's assume $1 trillion they have allocated to education, right? And within the education, if you see, there might be an allocation for the capital expenditure. That means developing new colleges, universities, IITs, IIM, or you can say different polytechnic and other institution. One budget will be there for them. One is for the existing colleges and university and institution, right? One is for the research and development, right? And then one is for the operational matter, right? So within that overall budget for the education, there would be sub funds, right? So for example, and then there would be some budget for the skill ministries also, HRD ministry, policy making and everything, right? So now let's assume this 1 trillion overall budget for the education is being divided into the 10 sub funds. So 10 sub fund could be capacity building commission, could be HRD, could be Ministry of Education, could be, you can say, AICT, could be for you can say the infrastructure institutional development, could be for the operational, could be for the research and development, and could be for the human capital building, let's say, or for the faculty development. So these are the 10 segments for which this overall education budget is being divided, right? And from that divided fund, let's assume there is $1 billion of the fund which is being allocated for the skill development, right? So in the skill development, further there would be subsection skill development in what all categories, right? So skill development maybe for maybe like in India we have 25 states and 8 union territory, right? So almost 32. So it may allocate to the respective state-wise, right? And then those respective state-wise, they will be managing the utilization of that. So now, from top level to the government level, it will go to the ministries. From the ministry, it will be go further level down to the respective section. From the respective section, it go down to the state level. From the state level, there may be possibility it may go further down to the municipality level, and from the municipality level, it may further go down to the delivery partners, right? So that means overall 1 trillion fund is being allocated among thousands people or 1,000 entities, right? So each entity would be getting a $1 billion of fund. Let's hypothetically assume. So each entity is being responsible for their $1 billion fund. And now the government need at the year end need to do a consolidated financial statement at government wide. How will they do? Does it look very difficult?
No, sir.
So there should be a mechanism, right? So that mechanism is one, the government-wide financial statement, and these respective fund-wise financial statement from bottom to up. And at the end, this fund financial statement need to be reconciled with the government financial statement. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you repeat?
Say that again.
What needs to reconcile with what?
So, one second. Let me stop sharing. So, first you understand government-wide financial statement.
Correct.
Right? Government has given certain fund.
Yes,
That
sir.
central government fund is being given to the respective ministries. Right? From that respective ministry, it will go to the respective states.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right? From the respective state, it will go to the respective industries.
Yes, sir.
From that respective industries, it will go further level down to the delivery partners.
Right.
Right? So government never do implementation. They always have delivery partners. Right? So who are the ultimate executor? Now each executor have certain fund. These are like government agencies. So now if government need to make a government-wide financial statement, what two things it will be required? One is the overall financial statement at government level. Second is the summary of these small fund financial statement.
Yes, yes.
Right? So summary of all these fund financial statement has to be reconciled with the government-wide financial statement.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes, yes, sir.
So you need to make two things. One is government-wide financial statement. Second is fund financial statement. And all the summaries of the respective fund should be tied to the government-wide financial statement. This is what we have discussed it at entire country level. Right? Now come down to a small level. Come down to a small level. So maybe let's assume you are a skill development center, like formed by government. And now government has given you the fund of, let's assume, $1 million, right? So now for this $1 million, you are an independent NGO, which is being formed by the government of India or government of United States of America, which is a skill development, right? So in the skill development, you got $1 million fund. So this $1 million fund, you need to, you can say invest, or you can say you need to allocate, or you need to spend in, let's assume, four things. One is development of new infrastructure. For that, you got, let's say, 300,000 fund. For faculty development program, let's say you got $200,000 fund. And skill development program, you got, let's say, $500,000 fund. So total $1 million fund is being given to you for three purposes, right? So now you have three funds. Now we are not discussing at overall country government level. Now we are discussing at your NGO level, who got three funds, right? Who got $1 million fund for utilization for three purposes. $300 for capacity building, infrastructure development, $200 for faculty development, and $500,000 for skill development, right? So now you need to maintain 3 separate fund flow statement. Yes or no? Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you need to maintain 3 fund flow statement, and at the same time you are an independent entity, which is a government organization. You need to make your entity level financial statement also,
Right, sir.
Right.
right? So your
Yes.
entity level financial statement will call government wide financial statement or entity wide financial statement. So one is your entity wide financial statement. Under that there are 3 funds you have, right? For each fund you have fund financial statement. So those fund financial statement total should be reconciled with your entity wide financial statement, right? So this is what we'll be learning in the state or local governmental accounting. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Abhishek, Aditi, Gurmehar, Arya,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? So fundamentally we are clear. We need to do 2 things. One is entity level financial statement. Second is fund level financial statement,
Yes, sir.
right? So now let's come back to the notes. So the format and content of financial section of annual comprehensive financial report. So we'll be understanding in detail about the annual comprehensive financial report. So your overall financial statement is called comprehensive financial report. In that you'll be having government wide financial statement, which we have discussed, right? Second, you'll be having fund wise financial statement, right? Then within the fund there are different category of fund, so we'll be discussing that also in detail. So one is proprietary fund. Proprietary fund is basically include 2 category of fund. One is for internal services, one is for the business purpose, right? So government also do businesses, right? So those business income will come into the enterprise fund. And second is the internal service fund. So for example, any of you have seen any government organization, or any of your friend, family member or relative is working in any government organization by any chance?
Sir, I was working with this bullet train project, which was a PSU, not exactly a government organization, but it was similar in structure to a government organization only.
Anyone
So,
else? Kashish, Abhinish, Gurmehar,
No, sir.
Abhishek, Surya,
No.
नहीं
Aditi.
सर ऐसा तो नहीं करा.
Okay, okay. Just assume the railway, right? Railway is property of Government of India, right? So that's a government organization, right? And have you heard of DRDO?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
What
sir.
is that?
Defense research.
Defense research, right? And then have you heard about MHI?
Yes, sir. National Highway Authority of India.
No. MHI is Ministry of
Sorry.
Heavy Industry,
Sorry.
right?
Yeah.
Like GAIL, right? So for example, there is a data center which is being created by the central government. That data center has the common data for the usage of multiple department or multiple government authorities, right? So that data center will be having certain costs, right? For their cloud costs, for their server costs, for their infrastructure costs, for their rental costs, for electricity costs, or the manpower cost, right? And now the data center is being used by the police department, by the CBI department, by the railway department, by the RBI, by the, you can say, MHI, by MSME, right? For all the department. So here, that what data center is doing, they are providing services to the internal governmental department. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So those all comes under the proprietary, right? Second thing, have you heard about Capacity Building Commission, CBC?
No, sir.
I know I'm taking you to too much government. So in India, so there's a commission, same way like I'm sure you might have heard of UGC. Have you heard UGC?
University Grants Commission.
Yeah, yeah. So what UGC do?
Sir, it basically regulates the universities in India.
No, it does not regulate. it provide like university status to the institution, right? So they are governing body who provide status of university, whether it's private, autonomous, or you can say respective category of university, right? So this is Capacity Building Commission. So this is being like formed recently by Modi government, and this is for the internal capacity building of all government department. How to make government department people advance, right, in terms of technology, whether it's like AI, ML, robotic process solution, cyber crime, cyber security, right? So they do trainings to the IAS, IRS, IPS, or you can say respective government department, police department, CBI, CID, those kind of departments. And they do like, like same way, this capacity building commission, which Modi government has formed, they work similar way of how MNC actually work. So when any new joiner join any MNC, like maybe for PwC, KPMG, Deloitte, Accenture, any big company, if you guys join, so I'm sure before you hit the floor, they give you certain trainings, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Induction training or some basic
Yes.
trainings, right? Same way this capacity building commission do for all the government, all IAS officer, IRS officer, IFS officer, UPSC pass student who are joining the respective government department. This capacity building commission, they give them trainings. And same way how in your organization, in your company, you will get timely trainings for your development in the respective domain as well as for your career growth. You'll get time to time trainings, right? Same way this capacity building commission provide training to all internal governmental department, right? So what they do? Internal services from one common department to multiple departments, right? So
Right.
what I'm actually trying to do, the theory which we are expected to be learn in next 2-3 classes of this governmental accounting, trying to connect you with how things are actually work in the respective department, or you can say in the practical world, right? So why I'm sharing these example, and so that you can correlate this theory with the experiences, or you can also explore your independent experiences with these tips, right? So now coming back to the theory part. So one is government wide financial statement, second is fund financial statement, third is proprietary fund financial statement. What is proprietary fund financial statement? Two categories. One is internal service departments, and second is where government do businesses. Any idea where government do businesses?
सर गवर्नमेंट बिजनेसेस लाइक वो हो गए जो गवर्नमेंट एंटिटीज हैं which are profit for profit entities like Indian Oil sort of
Yes, Navratan,
Navratna,
Navratna.
right.
Right.
Yeah, so those all comes under the proprietary funds. Next is fiduciary fund. Have you heard this term before? Fiduciary. What do you mean by fiduciary? Any idea?
No sir.
Aditya?
No, sir.
What is in layman we call fiduciary?
Fiduciary is something not real.
That is fictitious.
So something related to trust.
Sir, T or
So
beneficiary.
something involving trust.
Hmm.
You have kind of a trust.
Something which is related to law.
Low. What else?
Sir,
Yeah.
वही relationship between a trustee and beneficiary.
ये सर गूगल बता रहा है ऐसा
ये सबको
वो बता रहे हैं आपको आगे ना जो नहीं आता है
What Google is saying?
Fiduciary is position of trust between a trustee and beneficiary.
Yeah. So fiduciary include, yeah, like you said, trust, beneficial interest, or a situation where like the people are trusting on you and you are holding something for the benefit of the people, right? So that position is called fiduciary position. So in the fiduciary position also you have certain funds, which is maybe for like how in India we have NGOs, right? Or in US we call it not-for-profit organization, right? To them we allocate certain funds for the benefit, or you can say the implementation of the government policies, right? So they also need to maintain separate financial statement. Next is notes to financial statement, which we all know, management discussion analysis, right? We discuss in the morning, right? Then budgetary comparison reporting. So if you remember, before we start on this government-wide financial statement, one thing we have discussed is the overall budget, right? So every month, the finance minister also do budget versus actual analysis at countrywide, right? Same way, the states, they also do budget versus actual analysis for the state level, municipality-wise municipal level, as well as the respective PSUs or the people or the, you can say, department, they also do budget versus actual comparison. So for example, like if I say last year, in the month of March, like I was sitting with the director of Department of Science and Technology of Government of India. So in the last year budget, they got around $12,000 fund allocation for the development of entrepreneurship ecosystem, right? And you won't believe it, from April 2022 to December 2022, in first 9 months, out of that $12,000, they have invested less than $800,000, almost 11,200 crores were sitting in their account, in their budgetary account. And now the government have start asking why you are not utilizing this fund. So what they have done in the month of January and February, they have identified all the IITs, all the IIMs, and all the existing incubation center of Niti Aayog. And to them, IITs and IIMs, they have allocated 500 crore each. And to all the AIC incubation center, they have allocated in a range of 70 crore to 90 crore each. And 28th February, they have exhausted 12,000 crore of their budget. Can you believe it? Like this, these are things also happen in the government department,
Yes, sir.
right? Why they have been allocated majority of their fund? Can you like I'm just trying to take you close to the practical things. Why they have allocated such major chunk of the money to the IITs and IIMs? What do you think will be the key reason?
Sir, research and development, basically.
What else? What else be the reason of allocating majority of their funds to IITs and IIMs?
Well, they have incubation centers, so they can do better research.
So because they want to create a, like if we are looking at the foreign countries, they already have many of their universities in top 100, which are actually providing quality education to the students and providing research work as well. But in India, if we look at the education system and these universities, research work is particularly not being done, which can be done with these institutions like IIM and IITs, and that's why they are trying to focus on these institutions, so that we can have that,
Betterment of
impactful
these.
education, and we can also be among the cream. There can be a brand from India as well, where people are looking forward to get their education, and it would help in the economy as well if we are creating good minds from our institutes as well. That's what I think.
Yeah, do you know like what is the population of India?
Sir, 140 crores.
140
How,
crores.
how many students are studying in IITs and IIMs? Just an estimate.
Less than 1%.
1% of 140 crore is how much?
14 crores.
Do you think 14 crore students?
No, sir, no.
0.1% maybe.
Huh?
0.1% maybe.
What is 0.1%?
14 lakh.
14 lakhs.
Do you
But
think
even less
14?
than that.
Do you
Even
think
less
they
than
have capacity to
No,
teach
sir.
14 lakh student?
No,
No.
sir.
Because
How
I
much?
think IITs में CET शायद 5,000, 6,000 या 10,000 तक होती है.
So if there are 20 IITs, how much student will be studying?
2 lakh. 2 lakhs, sir. 2 lakhs.
Right? At the max, right? Same is, let's say, 1 lakh for IIMs. So for 3 lakh students, all the governments, all the department are giving thousands and thousands of crore fund. On the other hand, if you see, we have more than 1,000 universities and we have more than 35,000 colleges. Why the government department do not provide funds to them when they have funds available? Why there is no equal distribution of funds?
बिकॉज मेरे को लगता है कि बाकी सेक्टर्स जो हमारे प्राइमरी बेसिक नीड्स वाले सेक्टर है उनमें ज्यादा फंड्स की भी जरूरत है. वी आर स्टिल नॉट अ डेवलप्ड नेशन वेयर वी हैव been able to manage our basic requirements. Maybe that's why education is lagging in our country and we are not spending on those institutes and all.
No. What do you think? Like, what could be the reasons why they have given almost all the fund to IITs and IIMs, not to other 30,000 colleges which are there across the nation?
Maybe the trust the government had on IIT.
Say that again.
maybe the trust that government have on IITs and IIMs.
You won't believe the answer which I got from the secretary level people. We do not want to take a risk.
Risk as in?
If they give funds to like other colleges, then the respective ministry may ask 100 questions to them. If they give funds to IIT, then everyone is giving, no one is asking question to me. Can you believe it? In 140 crore population, there are so many people, talented people we have, but just to secure their position, just for the reason they should not give any answer to the department. It can be a legitimate answer, right? So if you see that 500 crore fund they have given to each IITs, can you imagine 10,000 crore fund they have given to 20 IITs only? That 10,000 crore fund can be easily distributed to 1,000 colleges.
Correct.
And from those 1,000 colleges, if there is one entrepreneurs come up as a unicorn, we will be having 1,000 unicorn.
Right. Right.
Yes, sir.
Right? That's a, you can say, mystery which we have. Just for a one person who is in the, like the position to delegate the fund or distribute the fund, or maybe like bunch of people, maybe let's say 10 people who have to take the decision. Just they should not be answerable to the ministry why they have allocated fund to 1,000 university. They have given entire fund to only 20 colleges, and they are using it like anything, and other people are just looking at it, right? So that's kind of problem you'll see in the government department. Sorry, like it's not related to the subject which we are studying, but these kind of things you will see in the government department, not only in India but across the globe.
Yes.
सर इनफैक्ट सर टॉप 100 कॉलेजेस को तो सर फंड करना चाहिए था सर गवर्नमेंट को नॉट ओनली आईआईटीज और आईएम बट द टॉप 100 जो भी होते
Yeah,
हैं
very true. There should be some criteria to give allocation to maximize the allocation, but just they should not give answer, so it's being easy to delegate to IITs and IIMs, right? So that's not right, and that's I'm just sharing out of the context, kind of thing. But coming back to the context is this: they need to report. Why I said this story to you, so that you can correlate things which is coming to your theoretical part in management discussion and analysis. You need to give these disclosures. So where exactly you have utilized the fund, to whom you have allocated the fund, and what is the reason for allocation of the fund. So that is being part of your management discussion and analysis. And then in your budgetary and comparison report also it will come. In addition to that, we'll be studying required supplementary information. Required supplementary information are not mandatory part of financial statement, but these are the additional information which the respective department, respective government entity wish to give to the user of the financial statement, right? Last one is financial reporting entity, including blended and discrete component of the unit. So you need to give disclosure to each component, which is being material and significant component, right? This all we'll be learning in this state and local government. Then next we'll be discussing 4.2, which is driving government-wide financial statement and reconciliation requirement. So this is very important. Here you may expect a task-based simulation where you need to do the reconciliation between government-wide financial statement and the fund financial statement. So what is fund financial statement?
So basically, you mentioned that an organization gets fund for 3 different activities. So that will be basically for those funds will prepare fund flow statement, whereas the entity, the government level, the statement would be at the entity level for the entire thing, basically.
Right. So most of the time I've seen like students get confused between fund financial statement and government wide financial statement. Government wide financial statement is holistic at a government level. Fund financial statement is for respective fund, right? So total government wide financial statement always have a distribution of the funds to the respective funds, and consolidation of the respective fund should tie to the government wide financial statement. For that you need to make a mandatorily part of the financial statement is called reconciliation between government wide financial statement and fund financial statement. For this you can definitely expect a task-based simulation, right? Either you are preparing for FAR or you are preparing for BAR. So this one is very important. Then after, typical item and specific type of transaction and event, which include measurement, valuation, calculation and presentation in government entity financial statement. Those all topics we'll be studying, right? Which include net position and component thereof. When we say net position, same way for a corporate entity, we have balance sheet, right? In balance sheet, you have three things: assets, liability, and
equity,
right? Same way in the government wide financial statement, you have asset, liability, and third thing is called net position. Net position is asset minus liability, which is for the corporate we call it equity, but for not-for-profit organization or for the governmental accounting we call it net position, right? Next is fund balances and component thereof. Same way for the respective fund, we need to prepare a movement statement. What was the opening balance? What is being addition to that fund? How much fund has been utilized? How much fund has been forfeited? And what is the remaining fund balance? So that movement statement we need to give for the respective fund. Third one is capital asset and infrastructure assets. What is capital asset? What is capital asset?
debt equity.
No. Capital asset is like your property, plant, and equipment.
PP&E. Okay.
Right? Infrastructure is your land, building, roads. Right? Yeah. If you see from the government side, government build roads, highways, bridges, airports, railways. Right? So this is infrastructural asset that government do have. In addition to that, government do have for their own department like building, right? Maybe furniture, fixture, computers, machineries, data, right? Intellectual properties. So that all comes in the capital asset. But there is a separate classification between capital asset and infrastructure asset. From the government point of view, what is infrastructure asset? What is infrastructure asset?
The railways, bridges, roads, airports, all these things.
Right. So 4.3.4, which is general and proprietary long-term liabilities. So if you see from the government-wide financial statement, there might be a possibility that government might have taken certain loans. That can be external commercial borrowing, right? That can be borrowing from other countries, or if you see the state-wise, that can be borrowing from the central government, that can be borrowing from RBI, right? Those all things come under the long-term liability. The next is inter-fund activity and including transfer. So inter-fund activity may be transferring fund from one department to another department. Interfund, including transfer, may be transfer of capital assets or transfer of services and goods as well. Then after expenditure and expenses, which we all know. And the last one is budgetary accounting and encumbrances. Have you heard this word before? Encumbrances?
No,
Have you
sir.
heard this word? What is encumbrances?
Sir, a person who is in a position, basically holding a designation in the government.
No. Encumbrances are commitment which government has given to another government or another people for which they have in future expected liability. Like for a company, you have already issued purchase order to the vendor. That means that is called commitment which you need to fulfill in future, right? So those all things comes under the encumbrances, right? So this is all will come in the governmental accounting.
सर एक बार फिर से बताना इनकम में.
Commitment, open commitment,
Okay.
right? The purchase order which you have issued to the respective vendor, for which in future they will be supplying the product and services to you, and you have to make payments to them, right? So this is all will be coming in the state and local government accounting. Any doubt or anything you need clarification?
No,
Sir,
Abhishek?
this full scope is in FAR.
Yes.
Pura,
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Same 10 to 20%. So you
So
can expect.
जितना इसका
Mhm.
लेंथ है उस हिसाब से 10-20% तो बहुत कम नहीं लग रहा.
Yeah, because the reason being like very less CPA do governmental accounting. Well, same way how in India you need to pass UPSC exams and all those things to get into the government jobs. But but for if you are a CPA, you might be doing audit of governmental. For that, UPSC or other such governmental account is not required. That is being allocated by the CAG,
Okay.
right? Even though like the subjects are course matter is wide, but if you see practical application is limited, that is the reason the weightage is less,
Okay.
right? So maybe we can close the class here over.
सर एक
And
सर
Abhishek?
कैपिटल अभिनीश सर कैपिटल एसेट का एग्जांपल सर कोई गवर्नमेंट.
Yeah, so in the government wide financial statement there are two type of, you can say, capital item. One is capital asset, which is like land, building, property, plant, equipment, machineries, right? Those all things comes under the capital asset. Second kind of property is called infrastructure property. So infrastructure property is like the government has developed the road, bridge, dam, flyover, railways, or maybe airport. So those all things come under the infrastructural assets.